This is Greg Orloff with IIoT World, and I have the privilege of speaking today with Dima Feldman. And Dima is the Vice President of Product Management at Sony Semiconductor. Dima, welcome.
Hi, Greg. Thank you very much. It's great being here. Right? Sony Semi Israel. It's still not Sony Semiconductor.
Sony. Very good. Thank you for the clarification. Well, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about just the industrial IoT marketplace from a macro standpoint. I mean, we hear numbers all the time, Dima, of 11 billion, 13 billion connected devices that are currently in this time frame that we are, and the projections are upwards of 19 in 2 to 3 years, and up to 30 almost by the year 2030 in terms of the global number of connected devices. That's a lot of things to be pinging around the internet and talking back and forth. But what are some of the challenges that Sony and Semi sees from a rapidly expanding market space like this?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I think first of all, it's very interesting and challenging market for us. We see a need to connect everything to everywhere and everything. People want to know, and I think have a full control of everything that happens within their range of responsibilities. Some of it could be smart industry, as you mentioned, and also many other interesting aspects are coming outside of the campus space, I would say. And the other segment we are looking at, or interesting point, is what happens within our smart cities. And for us, it's probably more interesting technology because we are very strong on cellular communication, and looking into cellular examples. For me, this is the best technology to connect if you don't know what exists. For example, in my home, I would have Bluetooth, Wi-Fi connectivity. It works perfect for my home appliances. But out there, cellular communication is great. And for me, it's very interesting to see what people are connecting to the networks. It's grid management, utility management, water, gas, parking, everything you can think of outside of our houses started to be connected those days.
So I know you folks are working on some new technology and integration of different technologies as well, but talk to me a little bit about the benefits of a hybrid connectivity in something like this from a singular chip standpoint.
I think this is a very interesting aspect, because when we look on how people want to connect things, or maybe even I step back for a second, working with the customers at utility industry or metering industry, they want to connect meters, they want to collect data. They are often not communication experts, but and if I look back 10 or 15 years, there was no suitable technology, and therefore they had to develop their own communication technologies just to connect our smart meters. And over the years, many of the different utility companies have developed their own proprietary solutions, some star, some mesh, some technology were standardized, some were not. And probably 5 or 7 years ago, some of them started to move to cellular technology, just because their cellular networks exist everywhere. And for them, this was a very natural move. But they have this new shiny cellular technology. It comes with connectivity fees. The fee is not huge, but for some people, it's a barrier. It's maybe a psychological barrier. And therefore, they say, we already have our mesh technology. We have this new cellular technology. How do we choose? We help them to do that. Use a silicon that can do many. And you can activate it in different ways according to your installation location, the tender, the agreement you want to sign with the carriers. They need to be, I would say, they need to be experts in what they do, which is metering, and bring in a lot of wisdom to the meters, and we see those days. And what we are trying to do is use a communication unit that can connect to any network, and will make your life easier. You will need to have less. I actually do believe in that. And they will need to have much less SKUs or different devices, and they will also reduce cost, because they need to connect to multiple networks exist today. If I take apart many of the smart meters today, they have more than one communication technology. So why not to combine it into a single solution? This is kind of a solution we would like to promote in the market.
Got it. So what about Anytime you're talking about connectivity, I mean, you know, the nefarious mindset comes to the surface a little bit. So talk to me about some of the cybersecurity threats associated with, specifically with the critical infrastructure space. Because I mean, there's a lot of things going on internationally right now that I won't go into naming all the different ones, but where do you see an opportunity to mitigate some of these risks?
I think there is a lot. It's a good question because you are aware. I'm aware of this problem. I think many of our customers are aware, but the entire world don't think too much about cybersecurity. There are not too many standardization or certification available in the market. You can deploy devices without any security features today, and for me, this is very strange. If you deploy 10 million connected devices that are connected to the electricity system, gas or water, those connection has to be secured. I think luckily enough, what we can often offer is a cellular-based connectivity, which is secure to an extent. At least we trust that with our smartphones. However, we do embed additional elements of security into the chipset, because I think the critical infrastructure has to be secured in a way we would like to have our more sensitive devices secured, because our credit cards are secured. We are paying with our electricity meters. Those devices has to be secured at least as good as our payment devices. And moreover, with my credit card, worst case could happen, it can be stolen. Electricity, somebody can shut off electricity at my house, at the hospital, at the bus station, everywhere at the wrongest possible minute. So those devices, in my view, has to be super secure. And we need to put enough silicon. I would say there are a few things. One is to put enough security elements within the system. And two would be also to take a look on your supply chain and who you buy your components from.
And you led me into another question. The whole concept of supply chain. We just did a 2-day event a couple of weeks ago on manufacturing supply chain perspectives. I know asset tracking is another area. I mean, is this something Sony's looking at as well?
Yeah, I think this is a different aspect, and there is an overlap in how it's connected to the previous question. We think B2B asset tracking or all the business-to-business shipments are becoming more and more important. We started to see it with COVID, with vaccine shipment. People wanted to know who shipped which vaccine where, that it arrived in the right condition to the right person, that you actually receive the vaccine on the package to the person you think you bought it from. So
right.
The entire integrity of who you buy, from whom you buy, where your shipment is very important. And if you look on the way many of the logistic companies work, those networks are super complicated. They change. If you look on the package you buy from one of the online vendors, you can often see that it's not being shipped with only single carrier. They change carriers based on the agreements and the cost. With the intercontinental or cross-country shipment, it's even more complicated. So the ability to know what happens with your parcel, which is super important for your manufacturing needs, is critical for many of the organizations. So they start to invest in this area. And again, they want not to be independent in the way they receive the information, not to rely on a specific company, but to get it directly from the package itself.
You know, you said something just kind of tripped in my head a second ago. How the whole world of standardization as it interrelates to this. I mean, what's your perspective on that? Because I know there's plays in the communication side of things from a standardization standpoint, as well as cyber. I mean, so how's Sony approaching that type of
I think for the communication, there are many different standards. We are part of this. We promoting those standards. Also, there are different standardization body for a security organization, for example. There could be multiple security certification you can get. We also are active in some of those bodies, especially related to the cellular device security SIM. We came up with the integrated SIM concept, which is the SIM card inside the chip. So we are very much involved in promoting this industry. I do anticipate to see at some points governments to become more active and say, if you want to deploy a significant IoT deployment in my country, then there is a certain way you need to protect the data. There is a certain way you need to protect the devices. There is a way to protect customers. And because now we can buy devices from everywhere, they're connected them in our houses, in our offices. Nobody knows what's inside.
Definitely, that's a very good point. No, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much, Dima.
Oh, sure. Thank you.